Don't know what it stands for, but I know what the purpose of it is, yes.
I am familiar with DACA.
Okay.
I know that it's an initiative that President Barack Obama initiated to help to help young populations that that are undocumented to actually pursue college education and be able to work for a limited time in the United States.
I know that it involves undocumented students.
DACA stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, and to my knowledge, that was an affirmative or a policy introduced by President Obama during his administration that allowed those who arrived here to the United States illegally and were brought here by their parents. And the reason why that policy was introduced was because as children, you don't necessarily get to choose where your parents take you. And therefore, if there was any crimes committed, it wasn't committed by those children, and it gave those children or those people that are here today a new opportunity to be citizens of our society.
I know that for myself, like, I'm fortunate enough to have citizenship, so that I can go to college and have financial aid. Other students are not as fortunate as I am. I am an immigrant, so I understand like that, struggle of being an immigrant and all that stuff. So for me, DACA is important for students to be able to have the opportunity to have an education, even if they're from a different country or different backgrounds or anything like that. To me, that's important because it allows for our society as a whole to make progress together and not hold back students because of their, wherever they came from. I think that's sort of a lame excuse. And at the end of the day, to me, it's important because we're all human beings, and it's just not fair for other people to say that just because you're not a citizen doesn't mean that you don't get the same sort of resources. So in my country, in Vietnam, it's sort of like the same issues going on. It's like, you're still a human being, you should get some of the resources that everyone else is getting. So to me, DACA is important, and it's important for students who don't have citizenship, and it's also important for people who have citizenship to know what it is, because it benefits everyone.
I've heard a lot about, especially with the recent presidency and all the slander and everything that's kind of divided us, kind of showing everyone's true colors as far as the hate. And I have a lot of friends, well, I'm Hispanic, but it's obviously different for me, so I have friends that have talked about it, and I've heard definitely the controversies, and I absolutely appreciate when people are taking the step to bring it to light, especially on campus, because it's 100% important. Diversity is absolutely what brings us together. So even if I don't know too much about the facts within it, I definitely have friends and family that are involved and have shed light on their perspectives, and it is all about perspective, so I hope that with this, you guys will really make an impact and open people's eyes to what's going on, because it's important, and we really need to be more united. live in.
Try to position yourself for a second in that situation. It must be exhausting. Yet, what you see over and over is the opposite. You see all these brave young people that, despite those like anxiety, despite all these conditions, all that anxiety and on all those adverse conditions, they keep hoping, keep believing, keep like trying to like do their best on a daily basis. I know people, for instance, here in the Yakima Valley, that like are in this situation, in this DACA situation. They are still applying for their exams to like work as lawyers, work as educators, work as this, work as that. And they are the people in social media and in daily interactions that are more thankful than many other people about the life that they have right now.
So far from what I know personally, I know that the Diversity Center does do a pretty good job of trying to educate people and letting them know when there's a lawyer on campus to get consultation for students. As far as I know, that's the information that I'm aware of.
What I see here on campus to help out those students who fall under DACA or are DACA recipients is we have organizations here such as MECHA that inform students within its group and on social media and within those members within those groups let their friends know about information and other resources that can help them out. We've had a couple events where some lawyers that focus on immigration affairs have come here to work with those students and answer their questions if they do have any. And I also am aware that we have some professional staff here on campus that are advocate for these students as well. So whenever they have any questions or are struggling financially or in their grades or through the process of renewing their DACA, when they're knowledgeable or at least have some resources that are knowledgeable about those topics and help them answer those questions. I also know that aside from having information, a sense of community is very important in order for those people to feel safe and welcomed here at the university. So when we have organizations like MECHA or other organizations like Casa Latina to foster an organization like that, to hold not an organization, a community for those students, or if you're not the law going after you, but if you stick out in society as a I guess being watched, it can be frightful. And if you have a community that stands behind you and is your support, then that's one way of supporting those peoples as well.
I think Central has had the same symptom and reaction, right? We know where we're located. We serve to a certain extent undocumented population, but it's out of this like DACA drama that I think both the institution and staff and faculty involved and the administration has been forced to actually take a stronger stance and say, no, we have your back. We're gonna do everything we can from an academic perspective to support you, to nurture you, to help you, to be here for you in terms of any resource that we can offer. I think many institutions, many organizations that were, aware of that they have undocumented populations and whatnot, out of the sudden have had to face the need to take a stronger stance for immigrant rights. I was in a conference for Hispanic serving institutions in San Diego last 2 weeks ago or something like that. And what I was told is that this institution that has been advocating for Latinx people in institutions for 3 decades, was much more conservative, and it was because of DACA that they were forced to actually take a stronger narrative, a stronger stance in terms of no, we need to advocate for these students, we need to protect them, and we need comprehensive immigration reform. So again, DACA raised the expectations, but now that has been cut, forces us, many of us, individuals and institutions, to take a stronger stance in terms of for students, for undocumented populations. So Central, I think, has a stronger, clearer approach to the Latinx population that it serves, including DACA recipients. So, and that is good. That is good. But there's so much that needs to be done, again, at the institutional level in terms of providing spaces, resources, training, to the extent that we can be there for them.
Yeah, I have multiple friends who've been impacted by that. One of them hasn't started her college education yet, but she's in that process right now. She like in high school she was a 4.0 student, super great at everything she did, and so when the news hit, you know, it kind of hit back home for me a little bit too. And I have one more friend who's actually staying here too. When that happened, you know, me and my girlfriend kind of came in contact with them just to make sure they're okay, and then kind of like, you know, let them know that we're there for them. But all the political stuff that's going on, you know, for me, it's like, you know, I have family members who are affected by everything that happened, you know, like none of them are kind of in the free zone, I guess. So this DACA is important, even though it doesn't benefit me. I know that it benefits greatly to other people too, and so to me that's important for other people to know as well. So
it should be a source of knowledge for us in terms of like admiring the human spirit. Like when adversity, in the greatest of adversity, sometimes people just thrive. Right now, today, we just got news that like one of a student from Central Washington, his dad was just detained by immigration agents, and again probably is going to be deported. Can you imagine like being a student and all of a sudden having your dad disappear, be taken away from you? That is the reality of many of these undocumented students. So therefore, that's what DACA was so important, because he, again, as imperfect as he was and as temporal as he was, it was at least raising the conversation to high standards in terms of immigration. At least saying, let's give these people a chance. Right? And now we're going back to square zero, where like the rhetorics of like hate and distrust of like immigrant populations are the ones that are gonna like continue to like define the interactions that create this country. And that is something that must be a point of reflection for all of us, right? Instead of like raising to a larger, like raising the conversation to better terms, to like higher aspirations, we're going back to square zero. At an enormous social price, because many students are going to pay the price, many DACA teams are going to pay the price, and many people that could have benefited from DACA program now are going to be like excluded from that opportunity. So that is something that we need to consider, and therefore as an institution we need to be prepared to better serve undocumented students, to better serve whoever is that we have here to grow as individuals, to grow as citizens. We have to be like sensitive and responsible towards the many different kinds of students that we have, right? Because some of those students, whether we want to accept it or not, are coming from some very, very challenging backgrounds, and yet we expect them to be just like the rest and perform with perfect A's or perfect B's, right? Without understanding the very uncertain ground in which they live their lives. So that's something that we need to consider at the level of institutions, as academics, as professors, as staff, in order to better serve this country, in order to better serve the institution, in order to better serve the society.
In my immediate family and in my extended family, I don't have any relatives that are under DACA. However, I do have very close friends, I don't want to say participate, but that fall under that program. The way it has affected me is, well, I remember a professor one day told me that your friends are the family you choose. And since I do have very close friends that are affected by, or not affected, but that reap the benefits of DACA, it essentially, I guess I do have some family members that are very anxious at this moment because of the ambiguous future of DACA. It has affected my friends in a positive way, and myself as well, because it gave them an opportunity to not be afraid, to hide in the shadows, and actually go out there and be able to work, to receive some social benefits, and to just be not afraid of being deported. But now, when, like I said earlier, now that the future for DACA is very ambiguous. It's very unclear. They're back at that, well, should I hide or should I just be a normal citizen? Should I be afraid or should I just not report anything anymore? That kind of thing. That's how it's affected me, because those are my friends. Those are the family that I have chosen to have. And you can never be at peace when someone you know is not at peace.
Cancellation of this program has a number of consequences. Individually speaking, at the level of like stress and anxiety, right? Many of these DACA recipients were brave enough to like put themselves out there and say like, this is my condition, give me an opportunity, and I will thrive, I will contribute to the society. Now, out of the sudden, this presidential decision is like taking all that opportunity away for many, and so it comes with a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety in terms of uncertainty, permanent uncertainty, in terms of like, you don't know what your life is going to look like in 5 years or in 10, and for so many people, for people that are like citizens, people that like have normal status in a country, it's really hard to imagine what is the feeling, what is the condition of living in a state of perpetual anxiety, right? When you don't have a future, you have your life here. Going back to Mexico, for many of them, is unthinkable. They don't speak Spanish, they don't know really Mexican culture, they will never be fully accepted there, and that's horrific. So it's not like oh, they feel to be deported just because they are losing some privileges here. No, they don't know what is they have over there, right? And so, but also the problem is that this is the only life that they know. This is the only life that they know, and yet there's no future that is attainable. There is no future that is conceivable.
Not everyone knows what DACA stands for, so they think DACA is something that all immigrants that don't have legal status receive. So that's one. Another misconception is that that every DACA recipient receives the complete full benefits of citizenship, which is false. They still have to apply every year for DACA, and they could get rejected, and they don't essentially get the right to vote or like any other citizen. What else? Also, a misconception about DACA is that it's a solution. It's a temporary solution, but it's not a long-term solution. So although we do have this good program that helps out these people, it's not the solution for the whole problem. It's just a temporary solution while we have some sort of legislation that gives them full citizenship or pardons.
And how does that make you feel that it's just temporary?
It's frustrating because we know there's a solution out there, that something can be worked out. It helps, yeah, but it's not the solution. It's just like, here, we're gonna put a band-aid over this wound and we're just gonna move on. It's just dismissing the full problem. And clearly, by pulling the band-aid that Obama did, someone's already taking off the band-aid, and it's just kind of like, we need something solid that's gonna help out these folks for the rest of their lives, not just for a couple years.